I'm gonna tell you a little story. 5 years ago, 5 years ago, right? The summer of 2019, I graduated from college, and my first out of college job was a copywriting internship with a software company in downtown Denver. I had to get there early. I was living in my parents' house in the suburbs, so I would have to catch the late rail. I want to say like 7 to get downtown at 8, and a lot of the time I would just pick up breakfast on my way so I could eat it at my desk. And my go-to, it was one of two things. I would either grab Starbucks because it was right across from my building once I got downtown, or I would get a French toast bagel with peanut butter and some orange juice. And so today, 5 years later, for what is probably the first time in 5 years, I got myself, because I no longer do Starbucks, I got myself a French toast bagel with peanut butter and orange juice, but we're making it a mimosa because it is a book release day. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Katie Wismer. I'm an author, all my stuff is linked down below, and today is the release of my 11th book, which is called Tell Me It's Right. It comes in 2 covers. And yeah, today's video is really just gonna be a sit down reflection chat. I usually do this on my book release days. So if you would like to pick up this book, I will have everything linked down below. Goodreads, Amazon, you can find the paperback pretty much anywhere. I would recommend bookshop.org because it supports indie bookstores. You can get a signed copy through me. Small Town Romance, Brother's Best Friend. Okay, I think the lighting's a little bit better over here. Let's talk about book 11. The reason why I started with my story and why I got this for breakfast and everything is I've honestly just been feeling super reflective for this book release. It started last night and I was flipping through my old journals trying to see if I had written anything like the night before previous book releases. Specifically, I was looking to see if I had written anything before my first book release, and I did, and it was really interesting because last night I was like, I felt nothing. I was like, my book release is tomorrow, I feel like I should feel something. I feel just like nothing. I'm not stressed, I'm not worried, I'm not excited. I'm just like, it's just any other day. And yeah, I went back and I found my old entry from my first book release, and it was really funny. I described the exact same feeling from that first release, just like feeling nothing the night before. If I wait for every siren to pass, we're gonna be here all day. With 11 releases out now, it's easy to get swept up in like, okay, what's next, and just like get into this routine. So for this one, I really just wanted to slow down and look back on the last 4 or 5 years and truly acknowledge and appreciate how much has changed so drastically in such a short period of time. I think a lot of times I can get swept up in the numbers of a release to determine if it was successful or not, because there's plenty of metrics that you can look at. You can look at pre-order numbers, you can look at first week of sales, you can look at the average rating for reviews coming in, the number of reviews. Like, there's a million numbers you can fixate on. And my goal for myself this year, like my major goal for all of 2024, was I wanted to make this my best book release yet. And I knew I didn't want my criteria for that to just be like, I want it to sell the most. I feel like there's a lot of different ways that a book release can be your best book release yet. And there's a lot of things that are more in your control than the numbers. So this book has actually been a long time coming. It didn't take me that long to pull it together once it was top of the priority list and I was actually buckled in and working on it. But I started this way back in 2021. It's now 2024. 3 years later. One that I started writing like 2 days ago that I wasn't anticipating. But now that I've started writing, it's become like my new favorite, but I can't stop working on it, and it has spiraled out of control into Gracie's book. So, Katie, where do you get your ideas from? Men on TikTok, apparently. The main character of this book, Gracie, actually even predates that because she appears in my book, The Anti-Relationship Year. So this book has been a long time coming, and it's something I've always been excited about, but I was in the middle of a series when I got the idea for this, and I am glad that I prioritized finishing that series. I think that was the right business call. But I think you could tell if you've been around for a while on the vlogs, every time I would talk about this, I feel like I would like light up. I was always so excited to get back to this book. It just had been on the back burner for a long time. And in a lot of ways it was just because it was a fun book to write. I think the main character, Gracie, is really funny. Her sense of humor being in her head and writing in her voice was really enjoyable. She's anxious and overthinks and overly dramatic, and she gets lost in these like thought spirals of like worst case scenarios that are just outrageous, and it was really fun to write. She's got fun banter with her love interest, which is always one of my favorite things to write. But overall, I actually think writing this book, why I enjoyed it so much was kind of the cathartic aspect of it. I ended up relating to the story and to Gracie a lot more than I was expecting. Personality wise, background wise, like all on paper we're completely different people. But I did go through a lot of what she went through in this book, and this isn't really, I'm not really doing spoilers here, but if you like going into books knowing absolutely nothing, maybe read the book before watching this. But part of Gracie's journey is graduating college and just really struggling to find her footing in the real world and having a lot of conflicting feelings about that. Shame, embarrassment, frustration, feeling lost, not even knowing which way she wants to go anymore, trying to figure out what she actually wants versus what she thinks she should want because it's gonna look good to the people around her. When I graduated college, I had a hard time finding a job at first, and that's something I think a lot of people can relate to, especially now. I graduated in 2019, so I kind of like scraped in right before the pandemic. So if you graduated after me, I can only imagine it was even worse. And to be honest, me struggling to find a job was a surprise to me. It was a bit of a hit to my ego, to my pride. Honestly, I thought it was going to be easy for me to land a job. I had a ton of experience, I had a great resume, I had great recommendations, I had like perfect grades all through school. Like I just felt like on paper I was like the perfect candidate for what I was applying for. I was hoping to go into traditional publishing, and I sent out so many applications and I couldn't get my foot in the door anywhere. And I started branching out outside of publishing, but still like other things that I wanted, and I just like I couldn't get anywhere. And I started applying before I graduated, and like graduation was creeping up, and I was so afraid that I was gonna graduate and then just not have anything lined up and not know what I was gonna do next. So I ended up accepting pretty much the first job that threw me a bone, even though it was not ideal. No shade to the company, it was a good experience. I ended up, like I was saying at the beginning, working for a software company, doing copywriting for them, making like blog posts and stuff about this software, and it was like so far removed from anything I was passionate about, and I felt like it was sucking the life out of me, in the sense that like I had worked so hard my whole life. I had been a straight A student since like kindergarten. Like I had dedicated my life to following what everyone told you to do, which is if you work hard, you know, that's the way to success. So it was like all of that, the past 22 years of like killing myself working hard to end up here. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Like absolutely not. And if you've been following me since then, because I've had my YouTube channel since then, you know what happened next. I ended up taking a chance on myself and deciding I wanted to work for myself, and the rest is history. Here we are. And when I sat down to write this book, I knew I wanted to write a book about Gracie, obviously, and the next thing I figured out was like I wanted Liam to be her love interest, and I started to get the family dynamics together, but like her goals and her life and the plot like outside of that was slower to come into focus for me. And so this being the direction that the book went, and me getting to kind of explore all of those things that I went through, ended up making this book just quite personal for me and more enjoyable for me, and hopefully, you know, relatable to a lot of other people, because I think this is a pretty common experience, at least with early reviews. I've had a lot of people tell me this was really relatable for them. Gracie herself is a character, like I said, very different from me, but she was fun. I really enjoyed writing her. Gracie is for the book girlies, the anxious girlies, the overdramatic girlies, the hopeless romantics. She's never been in love, she's never really been in a relationship, but she loves these romance books and all of like the cheesy cliche stuff and rom-coms, and she's like in love with the idea of love, but she's never experienced that. And then Liam ended up being such a fun character. Yeah, he is a tattoo artist and he's a skater boy. We've got like the alternative emo vibe going on with him, but what I really enjoyed was exploring his family dynamic. His dad is basically like the tycoon of the East Coast. They own everything. They have this huge national brand, very rich and snobby, country club vibes, that kind of stuff. And he's the black sheep who has never fit in for his entire life. He has quite a few siblings, and his mom passed away, so he now has a stepmom who's basically his age, and he's always spent more time with Gracie's family than his family, so he's already basically a part of her family. So family dynamic wise, it just ended up being really complex, and I really enjoy diving into that. And again, looking at early reviews, I think that's something that a lot of people enjoy as well. I think those are the main things I'd want to tell you about the book. I hope you enjoy it. If you do end up reading it, I would appreciate it so much if you would leave a review. It helps out a lot, especially on Amazon. Once the book gets like a certain number of reviews on Amazon, Amazon's algorithm starts to like recognize that as something worth recommending elsewhere on the site. And I keep hearing this, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but if you include an image with your review, apparently that is helpful. So if you like take a picture of your Kindle or your book or whatever, if you have 5 seconds and are willing to do that, I would appreciate it. Like I was saying, this was a book that was on the back burner for so long. And I had several books that were like that. My last contemporary release, Broken Perfect Lies, was a book that had been on the back burner for a couple of years too. And this one, so this was my last like back burner book. I have finally gotten through the backlog of things that have just been waiting for their chance, and so now I really feel like I have a fresh slate and I could go anywhere from here. Obviously this is the first book in a series, so that's where I will be going from here, but all of the next books in the series haven't been things I've been like thinking about for the past 3 years, so it really does feel like the end of a cycle, the closing of a chapter, because last year we finished the Marionettes series and then we just wrapped up my final back burner book, so now it really just feels like something new. So I am excited for that. I've mainly just been kind of like looking back at the past couple of years of my life and practicing gratitude, to be honest. I think it's really easy once things become your new normal to become complacent and take them for granted, and I don't ever want to do that. Things that are normal to me now, like 4 years ago, would have been a miracle to me. That's kind of how I'm spending today. Champagne, cake, and cats, and trying to just appreciate where I'm at right now. Like years ago, I never would have pictured myself writing small town romance, which is really interesting that I ended up here of all places. Like truthfully, if I could go back and talk to like 2019, 2020 Katie before she really got into publishing, I feel like she would be so surprised at the choices that I made and the directions that I went. Max. I never thought I was gonna write romance, period. I don't even think I was a reader of romance back in like 2019. Romance was always my favorite part in books when it came to like fantasy and stuff. Whenever there was a romantic subplot, that was always my favorite part. I don't think I'd fully embraced romance as a genre yet though, and now like all of my books are not necessarily romance, but romance heavy. I always thought I was gonna be a young adult author. My first novel is young adult, but I always thought that that was going to be my path and I was just going to stick in YA, and now I have like no desire to write another YA book, and I just like can't imagine. Actually, that's not necessarily true. If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have told you I have no desire to ever write YA again. And lately I've just been like, I don't know if it's been like the shows I've been watching or what, I've been kind of like interested in writing younger characters again. Maybe it was Gracie, because writing her, she's 22 in this book and I'm now 27, so she felt so much younger than me this go around. But I am excited that the next book I'm gonna write, or the next book that I'm working on, is the second book in the Sweet Spire series, which is not for pre-order. It's called Tell Me It's Wrong. I haven't released the blurb yet, but you can read the first 2 chapters at the end of Tell Me It's Right. So that shows you who the characters are, and I'll give you an idea for the tropes and everything. So this isn't a huge spoiler, but if you don't want to know who the character of book 2 is, yeah, maybe skip the next like 15 seconds. I'm really excited to write her book because this will be the oldest protagonist I've ever written, and I'm back to writing characters who are older than me for the first time in forever. Yeah, she's 31 at the start of the book. It'll be like 31, 32 through her book. So I'm really happy to see in the early reviews, if you've stayed caught up on my blogs up until now, I kept saying I'm really nervous about the choice that I made for who the main character of book 2 is going to be, because I feel like it's an unusual choice and I don't know if people are going to be excited about it or not. And everyone who's mentioned it in the reviews has been like, oh my god, I'm so excited for this character. So I am thrilled because I was so excited to follow her, and I have a rough draft of book 2, and it's such a fun book. Really been enjoying it. I think if you liked Tell Me It's Right, and then if you liked Broken Perfect Lies, you're really gonna like Tell Me It's Wrong. It's kind of a combination of those two. And as I was saying previously, if you've read my other books, I actually can't even remember which characters I felt like were alike at this point. I kept thinking Liam was like Miller, I guess, from the Anti-Relationship Year. Like if you liked Miller, you would like Liam. And then if you liked Reed from the Marionettes series, I think you're gonna like the main character of Tell Me It's Wrong. And not the main character, the love interest. So if you have read Tell Me It's Right, I would love to know, based on like the side characters and everyone you've been introduced to, who you were thinking it seemed like they were gonna get a book, who you would be excited to see a book from, who you're kind of expecting to see a book from, and if you were surprised at the choice for the main character of book 2. I would just be really curious about your thoughts in general. I felt like it was an unusual choice to go with her. Maybe it's not. Maybe that was expected, because I did go back and try and like set it up a little bit more in the first book, like let you get to know her character more to hopefully make you like her a little bit more. So maybe I made it obvious by doing that, I don't know. Thank you so much everybody who's been a part of this release. I'm sorry if you can hear like mouth noises. My cat has decided now is the time he needs to work on his toes. But thank you so much everybody who has shared or engaged with my posts, left your reviews, everything. I really, really appreciate it. If you do read the book on Kindle, I have a request that you, if you see things that you like, to make highlights and stuff in there, because that's how the popular highlights appear on Kindle. And I'm always so curious to see what quotes are going to end up in there. People always ask me when I do signed copies and stuff to like put your favorite quote. I never have a favorite quote, and I'm always surprised by the quotes that people highlight. So we'll see. I have some favorite quotes from this one just because I ended up like trying to pay attention to that this go around because I was so used to getting that question and I wanted to use them for marketing. So I do have some favorites. I'm curious to see if the reader favorites are the same ones that I've been using to market the books. Maybe there are some gems in there that I overlooked and I should use those instead. Let me know. It's been super interesting because of the two covers. I did get this question from someone over on Patreon asking what the split was like for the orders that I was seeing. Were people getting one cover more than the other? It has been almost exactly 50-50 for the physical copies. Almost exactly half have gone to each cover. So that tells me I made the right call in doing the two covers. If one had been like greatly outweighing the other, I would have felt like, I probably should have just done the one. But no, it's been pretty evenly split, which I'm happy to see because I love both of them. And people will always tell you they don't like the people covers, they don't want the model covers. I wanted the model cover. This was like my vision for the book to begin with, and then I threw this in to try to appease the people who don't like the people cover. But no matter how many people tell you don't put people on the cover, I'm here to tell you a lot of people have bought this cover. So just because voices are loud, it doesn't mean they're actually the majority. But if you don't like people, I hope you enjoy the alternative cover too. The only difference between these, if you're wondering which one to get, the content is exactly the same, no bonus content or anything to sway you, but the formatting in this one is a little bit different. You have some flowers, but other than that, they're the same. Like I said, the first two chapters of book 2 are in the back too to get a sneak peek, and there's also some character art in the back. I'm trying to think if there's going to be any other frequently asked questions. No audiobook in the works at the moment, none planned, so if you're holding out for that, it's not coming right now. Not coming. You never know, but not right now. No hardcover coming. I don't do hardcovers for my romance books, but some people do ask that because the Marionettes comes on hardcover. Book 2 is expected to come out in April. I can't think of anything else. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm gonna be in Florida next week for Romantasy Book Con. I hope I'll get to meet a couple of you guys there. It's gonna be so much fun. Thank you so much for being here on the channel and being a part of my author journey. And whether you read my books or you just here for the videos, I'm happy to have you here. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I will see you in the next video very, very soon. Bye. No.